2020 continues. Once again, Elizabeth Vargas with Industry Secrets.
Daylene Curtis is planning her dream wedding. Make that her dream weddings, because they can. The former Playboy playmate and her Mercedes mogul fiance, Fletcher Jones, are saying I do not once, not twice, but 3 times in St. Bart's, Beverly Hills, and Las Vegas. That means having their cake, eating it too, and another, and another.
I heart this one.
Not to mention 10 wedding dresses.
This is Beverly Hills.
Okay. And get this, 3 hairdos per wedding.
I feel like a princess.
Okay, since most of us don't live in a fairy tale, let's get back to reality. This is what most brides face.
Everything is expensive. This is $3,000 and this is $10,000. And you're like, oh.
The average wedding costs $27,000. Make that $37,000 in LA and $65,000 in New York.
There's some pretty harsh words for some aspects of the bridal industry. You say they treat brides and grooms like human ATMs.
That's right.
Denise and Alan Fields are the authors of Bridal Bargains, the book the wedding industry does not want you to read. Over the span of 24 years, they mystery shopped at over 1,000 stores, uncovering secrets of the marital market.
When somebody's planning their wedding, the last thing they want to be thinking of is, are you here to rip me off?
Welcome to the real world. You have to be a smart consumer. Some of this stuff isn't very romantic.
Like what they call the Mercedes syndrome.
We've actually spoken to florists, for example, who say that the price of flowers that they quote to a bride can change depending on what the bride drives up in.
You drive up in a nice car and they're inside going ka-ching.
Yeah.
She's spending more.
Right. Yeah, take the bus.
Seriously.
And when you're buying the ever so essential wedding dress, watch out. Go to reputable stores. The Fields give this one an A rating. And beware of misleading labels, like
Satiny silk is actually
Just polyester.
polyester.
Right.
You're kidding, right?
the Fields say that aggressive salespeople can smell a bride's vulnerability.
You could go in and they would make comments like, you know, that $2,000 dress is beautiful on you, and I know you only have $1,500 to spend, but maybe your dad can kick some in, or, you know, those kinds of things. So there's a lot of playing on that emotion.
It's really pretty.
If anybody in the industry knows about confused brides, it's this guy.
People don't buy what they need, they buy what they want.
Chris Evans is a modern-day drill sergeant for the army of retailers, battling to get a piece of the $30 billion bridal pie. Training everyone from chauffeurs to caterers on how to maximize their sales.
I want the bride to jump out of the chair and go, I want it, I want it, I want it.
We got exclusive access to the vendor-only Wedding MBA conference in Las Vegas, where Evans taught a seminar called Ruthless Sales Techniques.
Hardcore selling isn't a bad thing. Sell it without shame.
Why ruthless? That would seem to imply that you're teaching vendors how to take advantage of those vulnerable brides.
No, I'm teaching vendors how to sell professionally. There's no classes in that session on how to rip off the bride. It's all about sales techniques, how to deliver better product, how to deliver better on the dream.
So what happens when the bride says, I need to think about it?
Then you don't beat them with a rubber hose, but there are different closes you can use. I mean, there's different ways around that.
9 out of 10 times, what does it mean when the bride says she wants to think about it? What does she want to think about? The money.
What I teach people to do is find out what the dream is and show a way to make the dream come true.
That sounds a little bit like a positive spin on, you know, preying on a vulnerable, emotional bride.
You know, are there people out there in the industry who prey on brides and take advantage of them? I hope there's not as many as you think there might be, but again, they're not the people that are coming to my boot camps.
But it's harder to protect against what authors Denise and Alan Fields call the wedding markup.
The exact same services are 20 to 30% more expensive if it's a wedding?
Yeah, if you slap the word wedding on it, suddenly the price goes up.
Right.
We decided to conduct our own experiment.
Hi there, I'm calling to get some more information.
Our producer, Brooke, who is planning a wedding in real life, called 13 DJs.
July 13th.
Then Francesca, who also works for us, called the same DJs for the same dates and services, but for a party instead of a wedding.
It's a 40th birthday party.
10 out of 13 times the price was higher for the wedding. as much as $700 higher, on average 46% higher.
This is Elizabeth Vargas. I'm calling from ABC News.
The DJs we spoke to readily admitted to the wedding markup.
A lot more planning goes into a wedding. I'm not giving them a DJ for their wedding. I'm giving them a wedding director.
Yeah, but our bride didn't call you asking for a wedding director. She just called you asking for a DJ.
A wedding director is what's needed, in my opinion.
So basically, when you hear the word wedding, the price goes up.
Yes.
Then we hired actors to play an engaged couple.
I'm Dawn, and I am playing the bride-to-be today.
I'm Tyler, and I'm playing her fiance.
They visited florists pricing out rose centerpieces for their wedding.
We told him that we were looking for something very straightforward, red roses.
Single centerpieces on each of 10 tables.
A week later, these actors,
so simple, elegant,
pretended to be siblings throwing a party.
Hi, I'm Tracy, and I'm playing a sister.
Hi, I'm Nick, and I'm playing her brother.
They went in also asking for rose centerpieces, same-size tables. At this florist, our wedding couple got one quote for $300 per centerpiece. For that same centerpiece description, our party couple was quoted $250. Now, for 10 centerpieces, that's a potential $500 wedding markup.
Hi.
We paid a visit to the well-regarded florist to ask why.
And you did quote a price that was higher for the bride than you did for the regular party.
Okay.
Why would that be?
Well, it varies. I mean, we were talking a little bit different in size.
It's almost verbatim exactly the same, and yet the price was
What I showed them when they physically came in was a different container. One was slightly larger. One was a more expensive container than the other.
Did you show the bride the cheaper bowl?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
I didn't have it at the time that she came in.
So it's just sort of
what you had on hand. It was what I had on hand.
He says there are many variables that go into pricing flowers, so if you're a bride on a budget, just say so.
I mean, if she came to me and said, my budget is this, I would have worked within her budget, and I would have showed her less expensive options had I had them on hand.
Which brings us to one of the best-kept secrets of wedding savings. It's a lesson in perspective.
The industry tries to encourage you to have the perfect wedding. We try to tell people you need to have a fun wedding because perfection just doesn't exist.
To that vow, we can all say, I do.